My Lords, I'm grateful to Lord Haskell bringing this debate on manufacturing. Lord Lee should be comforted that I am a manufacturer. I know he's seeking to see any manufacturers in the chamber today. I've spent the whole of my business life in the electronics industry and started my first factory in 1971. It would be fair to say that in those days it was possible for someone to start up a small, well, kind of knife and fork factory and produce electronic consumer products, and I'm sure the same can be said for many other commodities, including clothing and textiles. Indeed, in the building in Great Sutton Street, London EC1, where I occupied a floor, the other floors were occupied by garment manufacturers. The irony is that if you go to Great Sutton Street today, those same buildings are occupied by the new world media industry of web designers, social networking companies. Now, some may argue that this is progress, but I argue that whilst these new world incentives do employ some people, at the end of the day, somewhere down the end of the line, people have to buy hard products. The buck must stop somewhere. There is a limit to where providing services can take us. So I think it's fair to say, regretfully, that we have lost the manufacturing industry for high-volume consumer products in this country, but also fair to say that design and intellectual property, as mentioned by Lord Cope, is important and is still retained by British companies. A classic example is the one that Lord Cope referred to as Dyson, who have been very successful in the vacuum cleaner business. They were once produced in this country, but the manufacturing was taken abroad to a low labour cost territory. Now, Sir James Dyson will point out, of course, that he employs a large number of people in the research laboratories at his headquarters. In the case of the famous brand Burberry, manufacturing was carried out in the UK, but has long migrated to the Far East. And the irony here is that prestigious brands such as them are now sought by the new affluent population in China and Japan, which brings me on to my point that while I accept that low-cost commodity items can no longer be produced in the UK, high-quality merchandise can be. The demand in the lucrative export markets is very high for prestige brands where price is not necessarily the issue. And my point being here is that the aforementioned companies that I just spoke of could still produce some of their flagship products in the UK and employ a few people, or quite a lot of people here, and set an example of a British brand manufacturing at home which would create employment and earn valuable export revenues. Now, I'm not here to criticise the government, the noble Baroness would be pleased to hear. I'm here actually to come up with a couple of suggestions. I'm a bit of a detail man. So, the first one is that the new recently announced £125 million advanced manufacturing supply chain fund, some of that should be allocated to what I call incubator factories. Now, there are so many empty premises and industrial estates throughout the country that could be converted into specialist factories where some core infrastructure could be installed, applicable to various industries, be it electronics, be it textiles, it doesn't really matter. On the periphery of the main factory, there could be small units where start-up businesses can do their stuff, design their products and utilise the core facilities by paying their way for the utilisation of the equipment and occupancy. And here they could sample their production runs and make small production runs. My second idea is based on, well, it's based on the lack of patriotism that we have in this country at the point of purchase. We need to educate the public to buy products that are produced or at least assembled in Britain. We need to change the mentality of the public so that when they go shopping, they can help in their little way by purchasing products made or assembled in Britain, the thought should be in the back of their minds that somewhere down the line their purchasing decision is assisting in employment. This new mentality needs to be instilled into the British household. For example, I'm suggesting a particular logo should be produced stating that the products you're about to purchase are British. The government needs to consider an initiative whereby, in association with, say, the Federation of British Industry, they come up with a certification scheme for manufacturers and producers, be it food, clothing, furniture or whatever, and that certification is accompanied by the aforementioned logo that I mentioned, and that the government themselves dips their hands in the pocket and promotes this by some form of advertising. Now, I'm sure some of my lords may tell me that this may infringe all kinds of EU regulations. I don't particularly care about that, and I'm sure there are ways to deal with it, because I remember when there was a time that Made in Britain was a very proud statement for manufacturers. It meant that the item was a quality product, and I do believe that we are still capable of producing quality products in this country.